Hello, everybody. Another Sunday night round table. I'm sure there's a lot of people still traveling or with families or shopping. So it might be a little smaller panel and audience today. I'm not sure. Hadn't picked out really too many set topics, but we're going to talk about a few things. Um, and let me do a rundown right quick before I let y'all to do an intro. Let me, damn thing. Sorry. Damn it, I had to keep forgetting to go mute myself when it starts. Anyway, PNASCARs, King Coin, Pocahontas McDonald, Dusty Blue to Fly, to a Fly. Anyway, Julia Campbell, Jay Gregg, Blues Girl 65, Gadget Ninja 1. Let's see, Gimp Geek, Fuzzy to you, Fuzzy to you. Blues 823 stopped in for a minute. American Warning stopped in for a second. Mike DeLucia, Gerald B. There's Resistitarian. Stump Greenwood stopped by, say hello. Big Baby Zip. And I think that's it for right now. So, Greg, would you like to say anything right quick?
Oh, I'll just do my standard intro. Thanks for having me on. I think everybody knows me. Hello to everybody, and hope we have a good chat tonight.
Yep. Matt, would you like to say anything?
Yeah, they were talking about football out there earlier, and I told them, I was like, I love it when they swing so hard that the bat breaks. That's my favorite part of that game. No, thanks for having me on. Matt from Resist Tyranny, Guns, Gear, and Politics, here on YouTube. Check it out, a couple new videos if you haven't seen it yet. Black Guns Do Matter. So use your hashtag #BlackGunsMatter. And plate carrier review. Plate carrier review, too. So check that out.
And for anybody interested in the Black Guns Matter t-shirts, I put Matt's link to his where you can get all his t-shirts in the description box below the video. So I think they're only $9 or $9.99. What was it, Matt?
I was able to get the price down to $9.50.
$9.50. Okay. David says he can't find. Okay, David said. All right. Let me try to send David a link. If one of y'all want to start a subject while I'm doing that.
Without stepping all over your video you just put out on the plate carriers, Matt, you were saying something earlier about the resurgence of the bans on plate carriers, or they're trying to ban plate carriers. You got anything to comment on that? Since you did most of the research.
There was a resurgence in this bill, and well, it began with the discussion that it seems like people are recirculating articles and things that happened a year ago, 6 months ago, 8 months ago, and talking about it like it's a new thing. And one of those things in the last couple months has been this like resurgence of talking about the body armor ban. Representative Mike Honda, I believe he's a California Democrat, introduced this bill. It's got 0% chance. If you look at the .gov website that keeps track of all the bills and like where they're at in the House, Senate, and who voted on them and all that, it even says like it's not going to pass. Nobody's in support of this. But nonetheless, when it does come up, even though I still don't know why the resurgence has happened. I don't know why, if people just got didn't have anything else to talk about, or or why it came out, or some people just learned about it maybe and thought it was new. But that's a lot like banning a seatbelt, or a motorcycle helmet, or a cup, or a mouth guard. I mean, it's because their reasoning behind it. Their reasoning behind it. We talked about this before the show started. Their reasoning behind it is that they say that wearing body armor gives you that sense of invincibility, that you can just go out and commit any crime you want with a gun, and you're going to be safe. And I don't know about you, but like when I throw my seatbelt on, which happens on a very rare occasion, mind you, but when I throw my seatbelt on, I don't go, hey, I can drive off a cliff and I'll be fine.
Yeah, anybody that thinks that getting shot with a plate carrier on, you're going to be fine. You may live, you may not, but you're not going to be fine. You're going to be hurt bad. I mean, that kinetic energy goes straight through that plate. It stops the bullet, but it doesn't stop the energy transfer at all. It spreads it out a little bit, but it doesn't stop it.
No. In fact, I did a plate test about a year ago or so. Some people may remember this, but I did an AR-500 plate test where I built a jig that had 5/16 dowel rod that I had soaked and bent into the shape of a rib cage and then clamped an AR-500 plate to it to see what kind of damage it would do. Because we all know there's going to be bruising and things of that nature, but to see what kind of damage it would do to the ribs. And so I shot it 3 times the 9mm, 3 times the 7.62 by 39, and 3 times the 7.62 by 54R, and it cracked 1 rib. So it's no fun.
Yeah. Well, I mean, even your average, let's just say a full metal jacket, 115 grain, 9mm. I hadn't looked at the specs in a while, but it's still going to be at least 300 foot-pounds of energy that has to be dispersed. And of course, you get into your rifles and stuff, it gets really high, magnums and stuff like that. But just to say a 9mm, 300 foot-pounds of fucking energy has to be absorbed by your body. It's going to hurt.
That's like somebody, and correct me if my math is wrong, but that would be like somebody putting cutting out a 12 by 12 piece of wood, putting it on your chest, and a 300-pound man jumping right into that spot. That 300, that 1 foot by 1 foot area. That's a bunch.
That's it. That's exactly it. When you get into, I mean, I don't want to bore everybody with ballistics and stuff, but not that I'm an expert, but just, reading and, I do a lot of reloading and stuff. The bullets, when they're looking at it like going through ballistic gelatin and stuff, it's like once it passes through, like that gelatin has to absorb that whole 300 foot-pounds of energy. We'll just say 300 is a round number. 300 foot-pounds of energy. But if it traveled 20 inches, it took it 20 inches to finally stop it. I mean, your body don't necessarily, it's going to do a lot of damage when it goes through because you got a wound channel, but especially if it's a hollow point or whatever. But you don't necessarily always absorb that energy. You just get possibly a mortal wound, But if you got a plate carrier on, you have to stop that 300 foot-pounds of energy all at one time, and plus, that's just protecting your vitals. That don't mean you ain't gonna get hit in the face, head, leg, foot, hand, and all that. That's just a whole nother, ball of wax. It don't make you Superman. Don't make you Iron Man. That's for sure.
I want to comment on something somebody said out there that has nothing to do with what we're talking about right now. Charlie Prep says, RTT, you're going to get some 3X so us badasses can wear them too. I will. I don't normally do this. I don't, because there's so few people that would actually buy the big sizes, and they cost so much more. But for this one, since it's starting off so cheap, it'll probably be a $13, maybe $14 shirt, going up to 3 and 4X. But they do have an option for me to have those as well. So, yes, tomorrow Tomorrow I will put out a hashtag blackgunsmatter big and tall as well.
Yeah, and if anybody hadn't checked out his website on the t-shirts, he's got these shirts are very, very cheap. I mean, as far as custom t-shirts goes, I don't see how anybody could beat the prices. And you got a big selection, a nice variety. As far as I know, everyone I've checked, you got the option of all kind of colors. I know I always got a black one on. I got my TR Prepper shirt on right now. You can get this at Resisted Tyranny, Spreadshirt.com.
Yeah. There's only 1 or 2 T-shirts that I have that you can only buy in black, and that's because of the way the design looks. I tried it on multiple colored T-shirts, and it just looked horrible. And so, yeah, I can do that. I can make it so even if it's the same brand as the one next to it, that you can only order it in a certain color. But yeah, for the most part, you can get them in all colors. TR actually owns more of my shirts than I do.
Now that you're going to start carrying 3Xs, maybe I can order something too, man.
I do. I probably got 5, 6. I got 7 or 8 of them. No shit. Counting, I bought like 4 or 5 of the TR Prepper ones, or I bought 4. You gave me 1, and I know I got at least. I got 3 Resisted Tyranny T-shirts, and I got 2 of the. If you're easily offended, blame your parents because they raised a pussy. I got 2 of those.
Okay, and Gimp Geek says something similar. So yeah, tomorrow after I get off work, I will, and I'll for anybody who doesn't have me in their circles on G+, find Resist the Tyranny, Guns, Gear, and Politics on G+, put me in your circles. That way you see the post, and I will post the link tomorrow in my social media for the direct the direct link to the bigger size shirts.
Awesome. Now I can get me some. So I'm 6'3", 286, so yeah, 2X is not going to fit me.
Damn, you big boy.
Yeah, they grow them big in the South.
Holy shit, man. 6'3", 286. Oh, I almost went full metal jacket on you there for a minute. Hell, boy, I didn't know they stack shit that high.
Yeah, I wasn't that big when I got out of high school. I was the same height, but I only weighed about 168. When I came out of the Marine Corps, I weighed about 225 and gotten older and spread out a little bit, so I'm up to 286 now.
Nice. All right, David. Coming to you probably under D. Robertson. Yep, and I see you're online. Paste, enter. It's coming at you at the speed of interwebs.
Do you send it to his Google or to his Facebook?
I usually send it to his Google.
Okay.
Not to an American Warning, though. To his name. And
well, I was just doing where you hit the little button at the top. I wasn't going straight to his website and trying it like the personal message kind of thing. That's probably where I screwed up. I don't know why I wasn't getting it.
Well, when I do chats, and you know this because you've been invited so many times, but I usually go through the little button at the top to invite people individually, and then go through the individual messages and then invite people. And if you're on my Facebook, I go and Facebook message you too with the link. So there's very little ever is there I didn't get the link. Well, you got it somewhere.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to start doing that. Yeah, I forgot about going to like the Google, like you said, it's almost like a personal message, or if you're in a chat, you'll get it through that sometimes too. But anyway, yeah,
That little box that pops up in the right-hand corner.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, because I know when I'm going to be on a chat, like if I know I'm going to be on a chat with whoever, I'll make sure and have like my Google Plus page open because it don't necessarily come through YouTube anymore. It used to come through YouTube, but it don't anymore. You have to have that Google page open. But anyway, let's see. Next subject.
BC Truck Rebuild, Repair, and Repurpose said he Googled all over his twit face. Oh, no, sorry. He says, I did Twitter and LinkedIn as well and spent all afternoon deleting Google. Sorry, I misread that.
I know one. This could also possibly be in the stupid news category, but Obama uh, was threatening ISIS through how at the World Climate Convention thingamajig they either had this weekend or going to have, I forget, but and how the unity of the world against climate change by man is going to show ISIS up and is going to really impact them. How we all, joining together about carbon credits. It's just going to scare the shit out of them.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that ought to do it. That ought to scare the absolute hell out of them.
Yeah, it's like, I know you're all hell-bent on your, like, religious revolution and, like, beheading people and shit, but watch the fuck out. We're not, like, littering anymore. I mean, yeah, McDonald's isn't just getting thrown out the window anymore. We're actually going to use a trash can or recycle. Ooh. Scare the hell out of them. You know what, dude? I'm seeing them on their prayer rugs right now, going, "I'm sorry, Allah, but I cannot go through with this because they're recycling."
Well, just think. If they take it far enough, they may even put carbon credits against camels, like they want to do against, about cows, because they're releasing too much methane gas when they fart. I don't know. I'm not sure about camels. They may release even more, and then they're gonna have to pay extra credits to, ride their camel and their Stinger missile launcher, and it costs them more money to travel because now they got to pay carbon credits and all that shit. They could just tear them up, just ban them all.
What do you think's in those humps on the camels? That's just built up gas. You squeeze one of them humps, and it's like
Methane reserve.
that's all that light air in there. It works almost like helium. That's why they have such skinny legs in camels. They almost float.
I just couldn't believe I was seeing those headlines. Though I was like, "Are you freaking kidding me?" And I even listened to not the whole speech, of course, but they had the little sound bite of him saying that, and I was just like, "What the hell is that?" But they pushing this, and we don't have to talk about this, but there's a lot of friction going on about, is there climate change caused by man? Or and then like people like Obama, hey, all you big leaders are pushing it hard and fast right now because there is so much science coming out showing that it's flawed science, and our Congress has been threatening subpoenas to get emails and stuff from these scientists. I can't remember the alphabet agency they're going after. It's like NOAA or something. I forget. But anyway, um, and they're refusing, and the court's upholding that, right now, that they don't have to give up their emails and correspondences about their discussions about climate change and the temperatures and all, because they're accusing them of having flawed science. And so there is a little debate going on about that, and it's like, I mean, we know how we feel about it and what's going on, but they are pushing it hard and fast right now.
Well, I mean, they've gotten all the other taxes they wanted. They got Obamacare. They're raising taxes left and right everywhere else. They're raising taxes on businesses. I mean, it's like the one hurdle they haven't been able to get over is being able to push more taxes on us for carbon, for carbon emissions. And yeah, their science is completely flawed. You can find hundreds of articles out there. I've written two myself showing historical data about carbon emissions, about polar ice caps, about temperatures, mini ice ages, and so on. That none of their data is factual. Don't forget, Al Gore said that the polar ice caps will be gone last year, like completely gone, and they've grown by what, 49% or something.
Yeah, the Antarctica is record ice. I mean, the last couple 3 years, it's like, oh shit, record ice, record ice, record ice, and then this year it's even been more than last year. I mean, and I think last time I seen it's leveled off a little bit, but it's still like a buttload more than it was a few years ago. Because it was record, 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 record.
Most data I've looked at has said that we're heading into a mini ice age, right as we speak. I don't have it sitting in front of me, but the cyclical, what graph that the globe has gone through since they've been able to record it, or at least dig deep enough to figure it out. Yeah, that we are heading back on the downward slope into a colder age.
Yep, everything I've seen, so I agree. Yep.
And no, King Coin, I was not serious. I don't think that the camel's hump is full of gas.
Yeah, well, I mean, you got to break it up a little bit here and there. have a little bit of a laugh. Yeah, everything I've seen, there's a few sites that I keep up with on space weather and world, Earth weather, the sun, and all that, and everything's pointing towards a mini ice age, or at least colder times.
And that's all natural. It's on a natural cycle. It happens every 100,000 years or so. Does man impact the atmosphere and the climate? Yeah, on a very minute scale compared to how nature impacts it.
Well,
go ahead.
I was just going to say, even their scenarios, the hockey stick bullshit with the graphs and how man-made carbon is doing all this stuff, even their science was being bold by saying, well, they were even admitting that we only impact the Earth's climate by 3%, and that was probably overstating it. That the other 97% was fucking volcanoes and everything else. And of course, I've read this a few times, where when somebody brought up the sun, and the scientist said the sun doesn't have anything to do with our climate.
Right. And they said it was too. If you look at the graphs, if you look at the global temperature shift graphs, and go back to the right years, there is less man-made carbon being produced today than there was at the height of the Industrial Revolution, where every building had a smokestack with all kinds of shit getting pumped out of it. It was smog city then, or country as it was, and we produce less man-made carbon now, but back then, apparently, I'm just spitballing here, apparently Mother Nature didn't care back then. But all of a sudden she does now.
She turned liberal.
Oh, that's what it was. Speaking of liberal, our favorite blogger's in the house.
Matt, if I didn't like you so much, I swear to God. Now, it's funny that you were talking about that. I wrote an article about the climate change and cold weather safety, and one of the things that I put in there was some recent studies about it. Professor Zarkova of Northumbria University in the UK said that the sun will begin its Maunder minimum in 15 years. It should be noted that Zarkova's model is said to have near perfect accuracy. If this is true, that means that we will once again experience a mini ice age from about 2030 to 2040, and of course it'll get colder as we get closer to that, and then warmer afterwards. But and that pretty much starts the shifting technically has already begun, but I don't have to really tell anybody that it's already begun in some areas. So cold weather, invest in some warm clothes. In fact, I heard it was 50s there in Phoenix a couple days ago.
It's been in I got in my truck this morning at 8 o'clock this morning to go get breakfast, and there was frost on my windshield.
Oh.
Yeah, because that's, when it gets hot, frost forms on your windshield in the middle of global warming, in the middle of the desert, Southwest.
Well, of course, and they blame all that on global warming. It's cold because it's warm. Yeah, right.
It's selective science. They can pick out. Like I said, one of the sites I kind of follow, he'll get into it every once in a while, and he'll, show like the world map and where the record highs are. And he goes to these government websites and gets all this information. Anybody can go get it. And it'll be, there's record highs here, 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 and here. But at the same time that there's these record highs in this region, overall, the entire world, there's more record lows than there are record highs. So if you cherry pick what information you're getting, you could make your argument, man, that's true with anything. But
they do that with gun control all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Every one of their gun control arguments is cherry picked information, or more often than not, umbrella picked information. They'll take a whole bunch of information, put it under one umbrella. It doesn't matter if it's not actually a mass shooting. It doesn't matter if it was a shooting in self-defense. It doesn't, none of that matters to them. It was just use of a gun, and so that's how they make their numbers bigger.
Well, it's most of the models that I look at, of course, you all know that it's probably no secret by now that everything that I try to do is based off of cycles and proven history and so on and so forth. All the models that I look at say that that is the biggest farce. No doubt there is some sort of element of man-made something, but climate changes all the time. It goes up, it goes down, it goes up, it goes down. If there's anything that we are doing is making it more difficult to eat and breathe, but it's not going to hurt the planet, and our money isn't going to fix it.
Yeah, if anybody has any doubt of the endurance, strength, and stability of this planet, I'm not even going to say stability because, what's the word I'm looking for, David? The resiliency of the planet. Mm-hmm. Look at a flood. Look at a tornado. If you really think, hurricane, a fire. If you really think that us little ants crawling around this giant globe is going to hurt this beast, yeah, you got another thing coming.
Well, and then, let's also take into account that there have been, I don't know, over 1,000 nuclear warheads detonated on planet Earth since we figured out how to do it. Um, just, I don't know. I'm just kind of guessing that, some cars and some cow farts isn't going to really make that big of a difference in the grand scheme of things.
Oh, but when
Yeah,
you buy a place with a bunch of cow farts, it sure does stink.
yeah. I think last time I seen a number, I think United States, just us, is 12 or 1,400, but I think overall the whole world it's like 2,100. Now I know some of them are under the ocean, underground, whatever, but it don't matter. It's still shit got released. So
Absolutely.
Yeah, volcanoes. Maybe we can tax volcanoes to the point where they don't put off any carbon emissions anymore.
maybe that's what they need the carbon tax for, is to plug volcanoes. I figured that. I remember when they put a tax on refrigerant, Freon R12. I was still in automotive then, working on cars. And I know we were bitching about it then. It's like, okay, I understand you maybe want to go to a different type refrigerant, but what are you doing with this $5 a can tax? You're taxing this can of refrigerant that costed 89 cents. Now it costs $5.89. Are they building a ladder to like spackle the fucking ozone? What's the tax doing?
Yeah, every time I get cold, I just walk outside with a can of Aquanet and start spraying it in the sky.
Well, and it's a joke. I mean, here's the thing, and this is what a lot of people just, I don't know why, and this is my biggest complaint in regard to conspiracy theorists and all this other jazz is, you know, it wouldn't be conspiracy theory if they would just use the right terminology. You know, plain and simple. Use the right terminology, and guess what? It's no longer conspiracy theory, it's scientific fact. Geoengineering versus chemtrails. It's like, for crying out loud. Stop giving it some stupid name because you think you're clever. Use what people are going to actually go research. Somebody hears a term and they're like, well, what is that? They're going to go research it. So if you give them the right term, they're going to go research the right term. Then they're going to realize, wait a second, there's something bigger here. And then they're going to look it up. For instance, it's like with the smog thing. China's got all the smog. The world's experiencing it because it goes everywhere else. Oddly enough, when it came to the Olympic Games, they were able to almost eliminate it. How did they do that? Well, that's interesting. You know, if you were able to research the right terms, you'd find out that, wait a second, this stuff can be controlled, the air can be cleaned. Matter of fact, there was a, sorry, little quick rant here, apologize. There was and I can't remember the university, but created a car that literally had negative emissions by the time it was all done. It was filters and all kinds of stuff, and all you had to do was replace the filters. It was like once a year or twice a year or something like that. Not a big deal. But literally, as you drove, it cleaned the air because the emissions were far less than what it was soaking up and clearing. So air from around the car would go into this car, get cleaned, and get pumped back out. And stuff like this happens all the time. We have clean energy. We've got all this other jazz that nobody really wants to pay attention to, or it costs more to actually do, but it actually doesn't because it's mainly wrapped up in bureaucratic nonsense. But anyway, there's a million things that could be done on the low dollar, but nobody's interested in doing that. They want to charge you and tax you to do this or that or the other, have some agency which is going to, you know, probably land a larger carbon footprint than the actual initiative that they're in charge to oversee. It's asinine, and the fact that, you know, it's just like anything else. The fact that we allow it to continue is beyond me. I don't know. I'm floored. Sorry.
But David, look at the plans that the government gobbled up and patented back in the 70s when that guy came out with the tap water powered lawnmower. You know, he was a proof of concept that you could do with a car, but he did it with a lawnmower, and he just did it with tap water. And yeah, they came along and gobbled that up in a second.
Yeah.
It's like the patent on the 200 mile a gallon carburetor that was invented back in the 80s. Big Oil just came in and bought the patent out and destroyed it.
Here's something, and this actually comes very close to home. My biological father used to race Corvettes when he was young, and they were pretty well off. I mean, he was a young kid basically, and had Corvettes in the plural, and but he was also really good with a wrench, and he figured out a way that he could make his car run almost seemingly forever by changing a few tubes out, coiling a couple of things, and calling it good. And he started to do it, but it required a certain type of microfiber copper or something or other. I don't know. He's dead, for those of you who don't know, so I can't go ask him. But anyway, it was something really cool, and it extended his mileage significantly. And I don't remember if it was the EPA. I don't know. I'll have to ask my mom about this. But there was some government agency that came in, and the thing is he was nice, and he gave it to his buddies that he raced with. Was like, hey, try this out, blah 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 blah. But the couple of the hoses were so ridiculously expensive that they started to say, well, okay, well, let's use this other tube, which obviously wasn't a part of the deal, and it started to hurt motors. Well, then they tried to come after him and like, hey, you broke my car. He's like, I didn't break it, you did it, and I told you not to use that stuff anyway. And anyway, so then they were like, all right, you can't do this, you can't do that, blah 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 blah. Tried to fine him a whole bunch, and literally just shut down that idea. And these things happen all the time. The guy in Clearwater, Florida, who figured out a way to run his car off of water, and of course he put that patent out and then disappeared. He was like, well, but I mean, he's still alive, but of course now he works for the government. I don't know, just weird stuff like this all the time. And we due to the money factor, put ourselves into such a position that that we're reliant on bureaucracy, for lack of better words, but it's because we allow it and refuse to do anything about it.
David, off topic, was that in Kansas that your
Yeah.
dad raced Corvettes?
Yeah.
My grandpa was born and raised in Wichita, and he used to do endurance races with Corvettes.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah, I've got, in fact, hold on a second. You might, I'll be right back.
While we talk about that, I don't know if y'all have ever seen, and it's been a while since I've seen it. It might have been a lot of liberal propaganda, I don't know, but it had some good facts into it. But it was a little documentary on, I think the name of it was like, Who Killed the Electric Car? But they did make, the one point I want to bring out in it is they was bringing out this alternative way to have cars. It did away with so much industry surrounding car maintenance. I don't care if it's a company that makes water pumps, gaskets, oil changes. They went toward the petro thing because a lot of it has to do with oil and gas and all that, But it was kind of interesting watching it, and it's like, well, you got a point there. There's a lot of industry that don't want this shit to fucking go through, so that don't want it to work.
Right. What do you got, David?
Well, I actually have his old racing coat.
Wow.
Oh, no, that doesn't look familiar, but yeah, that'd be pretty rad if your dad and my grandpa used to. Well, I'll tell you what, that looks kind of familiar. That patch. Nice.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I'm kind of a hoarder when it comes to stuff like that.
I got trophies, a couple trophies that my grandpa had won. They're back at my folks' house in the attic, but yeah.
That's pretty cool. Small world.
Oh, well, TR said burb. So I had something here. This and it's pointing out how right-wing media spins stuff just as much as left-wing media does. And there's going to be people out there, maybe not out here tonight, but that may listen to this later and say, "Oh, bullshit." Anybody heard about this new bill introduced in Tennessee to shut down Muslim indoctrination in U.S. schools? Anybody heard about this?
I heard about it, but I didn't research it into its validity.
Well, it's valid. It's factual, but it's not the whole story. And I'll read just a bit of this here real quick. It says a bill has been introduced in Tennessee legislature which will end indoctrination of Muslim children in public school classrooms. House Bill 1418 provides that the teaching of any religion in public school classrooms is specifically outlawed. Schools have been engaging in various practices which are geared to teach non-Muslim children to practice Muslim faith, and goes on to the 5 pillars of Islam and all that. A lot of the articles I've read about this are specifically saying that this bill says that basically they only talk about Islam in the right-leaning articles that I read. And if you look at the actual House bill, it's all religions. It says the actual bill itself says Section 1, subsection A, the State Board of Education shall not include religious doctrine in any curriculum standards for grades prior to 10 through 12. And subsection B says the State Board shall provide curriculum standards for grades 10, 11, and 12 that teach comparative religion as it relates to history or geography, but no religion shall be emphasized or focused on over another religion. So there's a lot of right-wing spin and articles out there that are claiming that Tennessee legislature is banning Islam from schools. And that's neither true nor accurate. They will still teach what Islam is, just like they will teach what Christianity is, or Catholicism, or whatever, as it relates to history. But this bill isn't specifically aimed at Islam.
No, I get that, but maybe I'm misunderstanding something. But I thought all religion was to be taken out of the schools since what, the late 70s.
Well, yes and no. Here's the hang up on that. Religion's not supposed to guide school, but it is a part of curriculum. So where the idea of separation of church and state isn't necessarily to keep religion out of politics, it's to keep politics out of religion. And that's because of your First Amendment. So you can have religious belief and conviction and so on and so forth, and you can be taught religions of the world. In fact, that's probably a good thing in a lot of ways, for a lot of different reasons. But it's so that you are not forced into indoctrination, but variety instead. So, if somebody's telling you, that this is the Christian way of life, and this is, all Christian, then you also run into the idea that the foundation of this country is also too Christian, which a lot of people have been led to believe that. And but no, it's not necessarily to separate it. It's to ensure that the institution itself isn't a religious institution, if that makes sense. And I'd also too, I'll say this, the importance of and I want to just explain this because I know a lot of people might question why I would think that would be a good idea to have exposure to all these different religions. It seems to me that for the very same reason that I always say you cannot support and defend something unless you know what it is, right? That's one of my biggest hangups, with the Constitution is people, I swear to uphold and defend the Constitution, but I have never read it. Okay, well, you can't necessarily do that if you don't know what's in it. So, and it's a bad idea for you to support or defend something that you don't fundamentally believe. So, even in religion, if you were raised Christian, you've only been exposed to Christianity, or even Islam. Let's just use that. If you grew up in an Islamic nation, only been exposed to Islam, and all you've been told is that the Christians and capitalists are evil, blah 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 blah. Unless you have true exposure to the other side, you're not really going to know that. And by the way, this comes off of having met people who were raised in Islamic nations who were Muslim their entire lives and then had exposure to something else and were like, okay, that's not exactly what I thought it was. And then they began to explore. Having exposure to all these different thoughts, ideas, beliefs, I think will either solidify what you believe or it will guide you into something that's probably more in line with what you do believe. Which is why I always, say question with boldness everything. But just a thought.
I totally agree with that, David. I mean, I was raised as a Christian in a Christian home. I got exposed to other religions later on in life. Julia doesn't believe in religion at all, but our kids are encouraged to be exposed to all kinds of different religions and make their own choices from what they found out that way. We try not to influence them one way or the other. Let them decide for themselves.
Yeah, being exposed to different things is, especially at an early age, different things, not pushed on them, but exposed at an early age is a good thing. I mean, I can remember back home, in my town, there was a handful of gay couples, and that really got me, that got me prepared to meet David.
Nice. I don't know. I'll give you some. My ex-wife, she's Christian. I think at one time she was a Methodist, and then I think now she's non-denominational. So even that's kind of changed. And I think she was raised Protestant. Not entirely sure, but it's kind of cool. My daughter's 10, and I've made. I don't know. I don't ever keep it really a secret. I've been a deist for a very long time, and I think it's cool. My daughter. In fact, this was a conversation we had not more than probably 2 weeks ago. And I do. In my library, I've got the Jefferson Bible. I've got a book of world religions. I've got an actual Christian Bible. Just the New Testament. I've got an older version of the I guess you could call it basically the Torah. Elements of the Quran and so on and so forth. And mythology books and the whole 9 yards. And it was cool because, I was saying, I was just telling her that, basically all these books are yours. You can read whatever you want, and I got stuff from the super serious, high level to stupid jokes and games of logic, whatever. You have access to all the books you want. And she was really interested in the religion side. She's 10. And I was like, well, I said, you can read any of these that you want. I said, it's fine. She was like, well, no, that's good, Dad. And I was like, why is that? She was like, well, because I'm still looking for something to believe in. And that's really cool, and so I don't know. I definitely probably don't parent like a lot of people, but no, I'm with you on that. Exposing the children to a lot of things, because if you want, it seems to me like to be a good parent, you want your child to be convicted in something, but it should be their choice, and they should definitely know what it is if they're going to believe in it. If she grows up and she knows exactly what she believes in, even if it's 100% different than what I do, as long as she knows the ins and outs of what she believes in and can speak to it, I did my job.
Yep, I agree.
2, what's up, Gadget Ninja? And Wood, no. I'm waiting for it though.
Yeah, if I knew it was going to take off a little bit, I'd have made my video a little different, and I may have to go back and put a headline on it or something, spread the word or something like that. See if we get some more people to make some Black Guns Matter videos.
Misfit gave me a great idea. Maybe I shouldn't talk about this in public yet, but yeah, he gave me a great idea to kind of make fun of the refugee thing and like bring the oppressed guns from former communist nations into your home. Let them onto your land. Have like find a fence somewhere and have a couple AKs sitting there with a couple bottles of water and a half-eaten sandwich, and a blanket.
Oh, I get where you're coming from. Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah. Yeah, I'm hoping we see a few more. I know the video I put out, it's doing, more than my normal video as far as views, and so hopefully a few more people throw out one here and there. I thought it was a pretty good little deal.
Rick 4150 did one.
Yeah, I seen his.
And I know a couple other people said they were going to do one. I haven't seen them yet, though.
Yeah, I think yours and Rich is the only ones I can think of offhand that's done one. So we'll see. But I wouldn't,
Somebody in my comment section said, I vote this best commercial 2015.
Yeah, I got a lot of good comments on mine. I'm sure you did too. Tyler even put it in there earlier. I think he did the hashtag White Guns Matter too, or something like that, and I called him a racist. And
if I didn't like all my guns so much, I'd probably paint one white and leave the other one black and just play with. Oh yeah, I got all kinds of stuff like the white gun going ding 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 ding, smacking the black gun down.
Now here's the question, though. Here's the question: if you were gonna paint a gun white, which gun would it be? Yeah, that's not an off-the-cuff answer, is it? Oh, that's funny.
Oh no.
well, if you're gonna be politically correct, would it be the one that holds the least amount of ammo, or the shortest magazine?
Maybe the smallest one with the least amount of ammo. Yeah.
Yeah, an SPR.
Not necessarily politically correct, but whatever that would be. You know what I mean?
It'd be the gun that can't dance.
Yeah.
Be the SPR with a 10-round mag.
It'd probably be my Sky.
Yeah, see, I have the easy way out on this. Most of my firearms are all the same, so.
Are you trying to say they all look the same?
Like they literally are the same.
Yeah, well, no, I've seen some of David's guns. He's got like ones that are eerily similar to each other, like every one of them.
Yeah, hold on.
Two pistols, and it's like this one's this one's this, and it's like no, they're the same.
But do they get along?
But do they get along? One pulls the other one's hair, Daddy's picking on me. Uh-oh, here he is.
One keeps stealing the other's ammo.
Yeah, he won't stop playing with my ammo. He's got his own ammo. Yeah.
SD. SW9.
Yeah.
Not a whole lot of difference.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I
Matt,
I definitely not the one that made up that term. I don't know if we was in a chat, if I watched a video and somebody was joking around about it. I don't know, but I remember hearing somebody joking around a lot about black guns matter, and that's what made me make that video. I was like, I need to make a video on that. That'd be pretty funny.
Oh, and you know how you tag a video? I tagged my video with Black Lives Matter.
I did too.
So they're bound to get a hold of it and be pissed.
I know the I'm unloading really took off. That one went big.
Yeah. Chris DIYer, I watch a lot of Demo Ranch's videos, so I don't I don't know which one you're talking about. But yeah, they're all cool. And the Garden of Whedon, yes, it's vape. It's a Kanger Subbox Mini, 50-watt mod with a rebuildable deck in it. Which meant nothing to most people out there.
I couldn't even tell you what mine is. Mine don't have the real big battery in it. It's real slim, but it's got like the what is it, 1850 battery or something like that in it.
The 18650 battery, yeah. Probably 25 mAh.
Yeah, it's just got one battery in it, so it's real slim.
yeah, mine's the old-fashioned manual, you know, natural one. It's real slim, no battery.
One that you use a lighter for.
Yeah, you have to have a source of ignition for it.
Yeah, I hadn't caught on to the vape thing. I did buy this, but I use it some, but I don't use it a whole lot.
I've tried to go with the vape, and I swear to God, it makes me cough more than the cigarettes do.
Yeah, I don't know. I did ask my doctor about that. Just out of curiosity, we'll see what he wants. Because, every time have you quit smoking yet? And I'm no, and he's like, but I did ask him, I was like, what does he think about the vaping as far as health-wise? And he said what I figured he would. They hadn't been around enough to know, but he did say if it's going to get you all smoking, he would suggest it. But if you're going to substitute it, he couldn't tell me either way, so.
So that's interesting. So it hasn't been around. It's been around for a while now, but it hasn't been around long enough to know if it's okay. But they can push through genetically modified salmon and foods and all this other stuff in the course of 6 months, and we're supposed to think that that's okay?
Yeah, but we know that shit's bad for you. They just got, the guy that worked for Monsanto now works for the FDA, so of course it's good. That's a whole different thing there.
Oh,
we know that shit's bad.
Yeah, I didn't mean to associate one with the other. I apologize, everybody.
Yeah, I can't remember the last time I tried to smoke a salmon, David, without using an actual smoke box.
Frank I says too many chemicals in vape. Yeah, it's just the opposite, buddy.
Yeah, there's only glycol in there, basically.
There's 4 chemicals if you include the flavoring. 4 ingredients. That's vegetable glycol, propylene glycol, the flavoring. No, actually, okay, 3. I'm sorry.
And nicotine if you're using the nicotine-based juice.
Nicotine. Which is the only downside that I have found in any research I've done about vaping is the only downside that any scientist that doesn't work for the tobacco industry has been able to come up with is that there has been an increase in nicotine poisoning since vaping has become more popular. And that is due to people using it more often because it doesn't, some people it does make cough because some people do have allergic reactions to vegetable glycol or propylene glycol. It's not for everybody. But since it doesn't make you cough, it doesn't hurt you in the chest, and it has a flavor, people are doing it more often, and there has been an increase in nicotine poisoning.
Yeah, that was one of the problems I had with it. Is there's nothing to tell you to stop vaping. When you smoke a cigarette, you know when to stop. When your fingers start burning because the cherry's gotten down there, you know it's time to put that one out and not light another one for a while. With the vape, you can sit there and vape all day long. And yeah, nicotine is a deadly drug. If you get too much of it, it will absolutely kill you. You'll have a heart attack and die.
Well, I think another thing too is like these little cheap ones you can get at a gas station. This is the first one I bought. It's like $14 or something like that. The way they work, if you want a lot of nicotine, you got to get these, you know, the little bottles of stuff. It's pretty high in nicotine, but then when you go to a bigger one that has a different type system that produces a lot more vape, and you use that same shit, that in itself will probably overdose you, because it was like, I forget the numbers. Wait a minute, this may have it on there. Like this one's got like 12 milligrams of nicotine in it. But if you go to one that's the drip style or something, it would be like 3 milligrams is all you need, because you intake so much more.
And that's exactly what I did. When I was using the tank style that you were held up the first time, I started with 18 milligrams, worked my way down to 12, and when I went to the sub-ohm, which I get so much more vapor from, I went to 3 milligrams, because, and I get the big bottles. I go through like one of these a week.
So yours is it the drip style? Is that what they call it? I think.
I can drip it down through there, but it's for people that don't want to take the time to drip, but still want the basic same aftermath of it with a lot of vapor. And so they've come up with these tanks that do something very similar, but you don't have to put effort into drip.
Yeah, this one I bought, I got one that it had the little drip thing on it, but it was inconsistent on how good it worked, and then so I bought this bigger tank deal on it, and it puts out very similar to that drip style one, like probably something similar to what you're saying. I don't know. I'm not an expert on those things.
Hey, TR, I asked my doctor the same thing about switching to vape for smoking. He told me basically the same thing. If you're going to use it to help you quit, he'd recommend it. If you're just going to substitute it, he didn't have enough data. And he asked me, why haven't you quit smoking? And I told him, hey, quit smoking is easy, doc. I do it every night.
Nice.
Yeah, he also told me that if I quit smoking, it'd add 10 years to my life. And I said, that'd be great if you could deduct 10 years from my life, roll me back to my 30s instead of my 40s. I'd be all for that. But adding 10 years on at the end of my life, who needs 10 more years of not remembering your own name and shitting your own pants?
Yeah, I'm not looking forward to the time between 80 and 90, but between 20 and 30 was fine. Yeah, there's a whole decade there, here in about 40 years, 45 years. There's a whole decade that I can probably do without. When I'm your age, 80.
Yeah, I figure I got a good 20 years left in me. I'm hoping so anyway.
I think I got a good 20 years left in me. That's probably not when I'm going to die, but that'll be when the good stops.
But that's what I mean. A good 20, 67. I'm pretty sure I'm going to. I don't know where I'm going to be, but
It's a weird thought when you think about it. You think about all the things that we're faced with as a whole, and you sit there and I can't even envision being an old man. I can't even envision it. I don't know. It seems like so far beyond a possibility at this point. It's weird to me.
How old are you, Dave? You're same age as me, right?
Yeah, I think 36.
Okay, a couple years younger.
I'm a puppy.
I was about to say, Dave, you can't envision it now. Give it a few years; it'll grow on you.
As soon as you hit 2, man, it goes.
Yeah, because I'm 38, I think. All right.
I think I was in my best shape in my 30s. Mid 30s, I think I was in my best overall. Not that that was like, Olympic star shape. I'm just saying I think I was in my best shape in my 30s. We was going to the lake a lot. I was swimming a lot, skiing, tubing, a lot of exercise, and you're in your kind of like your prime. Last few years, starting to feel it a little bit now. I'm 47.
I was in my best shape my late 20s, early 30s, but that's when I was cage fighting. So when you're doing that level of training, 5 days a week, it has a tendency to put you in good shape.
I was in my best shape in my early 20s to high 20s. After that, I went to work for IBM, sat behind a desk, and ate. Didn't get any exercise. I ballooned up to almost 400 pounds from 198 to almost 400. But I had a sedentary lifestyle. I went to work, I went home, I went to sleep, I went back to work. I sat behind a desk at work, I sat behind a desk at home.
I'm going to shoot you a link for something here real quick. I think you'll appreciate it. I've seen a lot of good come of this. We've experimented, like for instance, in my family with this, and not long ago I had a complete workup, blood work, the whole 9 yards, and the doctor was floored at how good everything looked, and he was kind of surprised, and because of, I don't know, I guess my lifestyle, but I attribute it to nothing more than this. So there's that. Oh, and so nobody's left out of the dark. What I sent him a link to was the Biotic protocol, which is a protocol I wrote basically to correct certain ailments. But it's very counterintuitive to what a doctor will tell you, like stay away from salt, even though there's no evidence to suggest that that's a good idea. But different stuff like that. And a lot of people. Do you drink a lot of Mountain Dew?
I don't.
No.
I used to a long time ago, but no. When I went there for a while, I went like on an Atkins thing.
Mm-hmm.
Except for I cut out all carbs, sugars, and caffeine instead of allowing myself some. I dropped weight fast, but I really haven't got back into Mountain Dew after that. I still drink sodas, but I never really got back into Mountain Dew.
I don't drink any kind of sodas. I don't even drink tea hardly anymore. Usually it's either water or beer or, a cocktail. And I drink a lot of water.
Where I would ask you two things in regard to primary health, and this is, most people are like, oh, I don't know. One would be your salt, and two would be your iodine. What are your primary sources of both?
Well, primary sources of salt and iodine are both iodinized salts, and I don't eat a lot of it. I used to when I was younger. I cut it out for a lot of years because I had high blood pressure, but I got the blood pressure back under control, and now I do salt my food, but that's usually very lightly. Unless I'm eating French fries, then I use it a lot, but I don't eat French fries but maybe once a month.
Well, just so you're aware that salt's primarily associated with high blood pressure immediately after, not long term. Iodine is essential for thyroid function, which is essential for adrenal function, which is essential for weight control. But nobody, especially in the interior of the United States, actually gets an abundant supply of iodine, which is essential. And since iodized salt is the primary source of iodine for most Americans end up being really sick because they're told to cut out the salt, which of course is a bad idea in and of itself. The healthiest nation on the planet consumes over 4,000 milligrams of salt a day. and we're told to keep it well under 1,000 if at all possible. But we cry it, we sweat it, we pee it, we cry it. Anytime, and this is the funny thing too, anytime there's an issue, you go to the hospital, what do? They plug your arm with what?
Saline.
Saline. Every single time. You have something in your eye, what are you supposed to use? Saline water. Everything that you do in regard to any kind of mucous membrane in the body, it's saline water. There's a reason for that. It heals the body quickly.
What you're saying, this is what I heard, at least, is that my pizza addiction is perfectly fine because I'm getting all the salt I need.
Well, I don't know. You know how I am about grain, but you know, I don't know. That's
Lots of sodium.
that's a whole different topic. But no, I mean, but those are very important elements for health.
Never really thought about it that way, David, but yeah, it makes a lot of sense.
I kid you not. I supplement in the morning. I put together like a morning drink, you know, with whole milk, with bananas, and I'll take a scoop of salt and throw it in there. It's not just a dabble. I mean, when I take salt, I scoop it, and you know, obviously water throughout the day. But once again, and I talk about this in the Prebiotic Protocol, I have yet to find a peer-reviewed journal anywhere on the planet that says salt is bad. In fact, I'm finding quite the opposite in a lot of ways, especially in regard to real salt. Now, that being said, the caveat is to stay away from anything bleached and refined. You know, but the truth of the matter is, if you're dealing with salt and it's white, it's not the kind of salt that you need. They're gonna market it as sea salt, but the trick of that is that all salt is sea salt. Even if it's in a cave in the middle of the Himalayas, it's still sea salt. So they're going to market it accordingly. But your colored salts, your Celtic salts, your Himalayan salts, the ones that have the color in it, the reason they have the color in it is because of the bioavailable minerals that your body has. And mineral supply, which we're not getting from our food because our soil's all jacked up. This is a great spot or a great product to use for your mineral consumption, for a proper balance of sodium within the body. In fact, if you don't have enough sodium in your body, there's opportunity for neuropathy. I mean, you're going to start thinking weird. You get sluggish. You can't sleep. You can't function well. I mean, electrolytes. You know, why do athletes use things called electrolytes? Well, it's because it helps your body function. And the saline environment within the body helps everything fire faster, helps cleanse the body a lot more. Of course, you have to be drinking appropriate amount of water, but if you're drinking a lot of water anyway, that's a non-issue. You can overload on salt as long as you know if you're not flushing your body, but it's crazy.
That's very interesting that you said that, David, because the period of time that I cut salt completely out of my diet because of the high blood pressure, that's when I started having problems when the neuropathies first started coming on. I have severe peripheral neuropathy in my hands and my legs. Can't feel anything below my knee other than, you know, nerve pain. Things that are not supposed to hurt. Things that are supposed to hurt don't. It's a weird disease. But yeah, that's when that first started onsetting with me, was when I cut out all salt.
Well, there you go. So I don't even have to preach to you. I mean, it's a simple thing, and it's so funny to me the how simple it really is. And it's funny because when I'm long-winded, I think, in a lot of ways, and so when I wrote the Prebiotic Protocol, it is long-winded, but it's very detailed on how simple it is. I don't supplement with a lot of stuff, but the stuff that I do are the things that we're not necessarily getting in our modern life. But it's funny because the body can heal itself. It's designed to do it if we're giving it the right things, but we're not eating the right things, and the things that we do eat completely strip our body of the things that we need. We're surrounded by something called bromine, for instance, which was why I always talk about Mountain Dew, because that's death in a bottle, in my opinion. I should throw that out there so I don't get sued by somebody stupid. But it's filled with something called brominated vegetable oil. And this is in some products. We're surrounded by bromine, and bromine actually displaces iodine in the body, which of course is vital for our existence, because the body doesn't recognize the difference between one halogen and the other, which is why chlorinated water is a problem, which is why fluoridated water is a problem, which is why Mountain Dew is a problem, and similar products, not just to pick on Mountain Dew. But anytime you consume something or you surround yourself by something that displaces iodine in the body, then your thyroid gets all jacked up, your adrenals get all jacked up, you can't control your weight, you can't control your circadian rhythms, everything's jacked up. And then the body starts acting accordingly, trying to figure it out. And then, of course, throw in our diet full of refined, processed foods. The body doesn't know what to do with that. Of course we have a society filled with chronic illness. It's absolutely asinine to expect anything different when we're completely jacked up and we're relying on a commercial to tell us what's wrong with us. It's crazy. Nobody ever died from a lack of drugs.
So what you're saying is eat bacon.
Eat bacon, absolutely. I'm not kidding. Bacon, butter, whole milk, real milk, and by the way, let me just throw this out there. Stay clear away from homogenized milk. Clear away. Homogenization is so unbelievably... Look at how many people all of a sudden, out of like seemingly nowhere in the last 10, 20 years, all of a sudden have a lactose intolerance. That's crazy. What is it from? Well, look at when homogenization was introduced. And then, of course, backtrack that. Well, homogenization takes everything down and forces it through a small screen, basically. I'm dumbing it down here. But forces it through a small screen to a level that it becomes microscopic. Then it doesn't get digested during the normal digestion process. Goes straight to the blood. What happens when you put a protein into the blood that didn't go through the digestion process? Any kind of foreign protein, the body looks at it and tries to reject it. Homogenization doesn't. A lot of the molecules don't even get digested. It goes straight into the bloodstream, and then all of a sudden people are like, "Ooh!" And then of course you have weight problems and all this other stuff, chronic illness, because all this stuff's going on. And then on top of that, you don't have a proper sodium intake. The body doesn't know how to flush itself all of a sudden because you've completely jacked it up. So when you do drink water, it goes straight through you rather than going out and actually performing the function that's needed. Of course, we're all getting jacked up. Look at how many people are diabetic, like out of nowhere and for no reason. No family history, nothing. Simple fix.
Check it out, David. Let's see if I can get it in there. Grade A raw milk, non-homogenized, non-pasteurized. My local little produce stand. I mean, it's kind of like a little store, but I call it a produce stand. They've been selling the from a local farm, pasteurized but not homogenized, and that's what I've been drinking. And now they started carrying the just pure raw milk, and I can walk to it and get it. You know, it's like $7 a gallon, but it's still worth it. And I've switched from coffee to raw milk in the mornings when I get up now.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I'll bet you feel better for it.
Yeah. It don't. I figured it would have like a weird taste, but it really don't. I really can't. You know.
Here you go. This will be a fun experiment for you, and I challenge anybody who has the ability to do this to do this. Go buy not a big one because I don't want you to waste your money. Buy like a half gallon of pasteurized milk, then go buy a half gallon of or smaller if you can get it of homogenized milk, and then take your raw milk. Take 3 glasses and pour equal amounts of milk in each one, and then set them aside, and then just wait a couple days and see what happens.
I'm pretty sure our milk that we get is we drink whole milk, and I think it's pasteurized.
Pasteurized better than homogenized. I'll drink pasteurized milk. I will avoid homogenized like the plague. But the funny thing is here, and to spoiler alert for those who are going to try this experiment, in a couple of days, your homogenized milk is going to smell like putrid death. Pasteurized milk, it starts to kind of get a little bit nasty, but it's not terrible. Your raw milk actually starts to develop a sweet smell, kind of like a sour type of smell, but it's not like ugh. Here's the difference. Homogenized milk spoils, right? You have to throw it out or it's gross. I mean, some of you guys have done the smell test when it's been in there a week. in the fridge past when it needs to be. It's nasty. Raw milk doesn't do that. It sours. Sours versus spoils. World of difference. Your cottage cheese, your yogurt, stuff like that, that comes from the process of souring. Once again. Oh, and by the way, by the thousands, more people get sick from food poisoning from even processed foods than could ever be dreamt of in regard to raw milk. So that argument's a moot one. Sorry,
Okay, David,
I completely hijacked this with health. I apologize.
Okay, I'm sold, David. I'm going out tomorrow and buying a salt lick, hanging it from the ceiling in the kitchen, and buying a cow.
There you go. But no, read that link that I provided you, man. I think it'll give some insight, man. I've seen a lot of good come for a lot of people who followed that, and
oh yeah, I've got it bookmarked right now. I'm going to go read it when we get done here tonight.
Right.
I mean, other than some of the foods, but like I don't put salt on anything. Now when the salt that I buy for like storing salt, like for my prepping, is always the large containers of Morton iodized salt.
We have pink salt.
And I guess the way that my body gets its salt is usually from
Pizza.
drinks like Powerade. This Powerade Zero, the no calories Powerade. Because I drink a lot of those.
How do you drink that? That's for tea.
I get most of my salt from just salting the food. Julie gets on to me all the time for salting my food, but I'm going to do it. Blood pressure normally is 118 over like 17 on a good day. On a bad day, it's 126 over 19, something like that. So the blood pressure is fine. So I do salt my food, but I don't really drink any Powerades or power drinks or Kool-Aid or Gatorade or Mountain Dew or soda or anything like that. I drink water. If all through the day I'm drinking water. Have a big glass of milk in the morning, then it's water through the afternoon, and then I drink my beer and my vodka at night. But I used to drink a 2-liter a day of soda and then take another 2-liter to bed at night, and it'd be half empty by morning when I was younger. And it took a long time to get off the caffeine. Caffeine's a huge addiction, but now I can't even stand to take a sip of anything that's got sugar in it or caffeine in it. Just drives me crazy. I don't even drink coffee anymore.
I haven't drank coffee in a long time. I mean, a long time. I can't even remember the last cup of coffee I had. Well, I can remember the last cup of coffee I had only because I paid for it. It was as a practical joke, and I was like, well, I guess I got to drink this now because I paid for it. But other than that, 2004, 2003, maybe even earlier than that. It's been almost 15 years since I had a cup of coffee.
Last cup of coffee I had was probably, 8 months to a year ago. And our daughter ran away from home at like 3 in the morning, so I drank a big cup of coffee, and I felt like I'd taken 2 hits of speed about 20 minutes later. Now, granted, the situation had me all ramped up to start with, but that coffee really ramped me up to the point where my hands were shaking.
That's because that wasn't sugar that you put in there. That was more. Never mind.
Yeah. Well, I apologize, TR. I didn't mean to hijack it with health, but.
Hey, how dare you come in here and talk about something people's interested in?
Well, here, all right. So, for those of you who are interested in some of this, and I've put a lot of research into a lot of different health things, and a lot of people don't know this, but I do work with, and I don't mean like my job, but I mean I work with and communicate with different doctors for a lot of different ideas and things like that, and I have a network of medical professionals that I like to bounce theorems off of and work on different things with. So if you're interested in some of this stuff, if you go to the website, which by the way completely revamped, we've done a whole lot of different things to it, and we've put Dr. Vliet's, some of her stuff up there again, and we've got a lot of different things under the health section, under the features and articles. You can go to health. I've got stuff about probiotics, and I mean even all the way to reversing hair loss to, you know, surviving antibiotics or whatever, vaccines, whatever. We got all kinds of stuff under the health section if you guys are interested in that. But again, the site's been completely revamped. There's all kinds of cool stuff on there now. So,
just as a side note, David, you can't come on here bald-headed and said you wrote something about reversing hair loss. That's like a fat person giving diet tips. You just
because I choose to be bald doesn't mean I don't, you know, desire the ability to.
How to reverse baldness? Get a weave.
Reverse it. Well, it starts with either a comb over or a or a wig. That's funny.
Yeah. Yeah, I saw the new article you wrote about overconfidence and.
That wasn't me. That was a new contributing author.
Oh, I know.
Yep, we got a really strong team going. A lot of different stuff going on there. So I don't know. Did you look at the new site? Did you like it?
I haven't got a chance to look at it. I looked at it on my phone, but
Oh.
you know, that's different than on the computer. I'm actually working on an article right now. I'm in 2 pages of it currently, and if I can't get into my website, which I haven't been able to, but if I can't get into it, I'm going to submit it to you.
Yeah, post it over here. We still have all your stuff. A lot of Matt's articles. There's some articles on here that Matt wrote. So those are on there as well. And just there was we did take off the leadership feature like entirely. But we moved, for those of you who are interested in the leadership stuff, we moved that over to a website called reasonedleadership.com. So that's a completely different thing, but yeah, whatever.
Good. There it is.
Oh, that's nice.
Look at that. Nice.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Tried to make it a little bit more user-friendly.
I see that. That's cool. Hey, I used to have a setup similar to this. Very similar. It didn't have this big banner, this big scrolling banner, but recent posts and all. Yeah. Very cool.
I like it.
Yeah. Very cool. And don't forget to buy the book. Reloaded.
Yeah, it's definitely a lot more user-friendly. Still a little bit slower than I'd like, but we're working on that.
Yeah,
You talk about massacre.
I'm going to just say this. It's not my chat, but I'm going to say it anyway. You guys can't get along out in the chat room. Do it somewhere else.
I just did massacre.
Fucking it up for everybody else.
I think we may have it under control. Because I ain't going to just start blocking people that's having an argument out there. Just calm down, guys. Just calm down. You may both have your own points, and that's cool. That's what I put in there. Just agree to disagree and drop it. Move on. Let's talk about, do you like a woman with a big butt or a small butt?
Two important issues.
World-changing issues like that.
I can see that we're going to the real issues, the heart of the problem here. Or in this case, maybe the camel toe of the problem. But
Oh, no, you didn't.
Oh, no, you didn't.
You gotta,
Yeah, he
gotta
did.
lighten it up. Gotta lighten it up somehow. I'd say I'm more of an ass man than I am a boobs. So I appreciate both. Don't get me wrong, but
I'm the exact opposite, TR, so between both of us in a bar, we'd probably have the situation handled.
David's theory is, as long as she's not a man, or at least.
David's really particular, actually.
I know
Yeah.
David in particular.
I'm probably overly particular to a fault, but I don't know, man. It's funny too because Wood doesn't like it that I'm so particular, but it's really weird. Like if it's I don't know, man. It's the details that matter. But I like I don't know, kind of petite,
Less facial hair than you,
preferably, yeah.
but not mandatory, just preferably.
Just preferably. I mean, yeah. I mean, if we're having a beard contest, that's probably a bad idea. But you know, probably not down with all that. But I don't know.
As long as a couple plucks takes care of it, and you're fine.
Yeah, that's funny.
Frank I said all butts matter.
just seen that.
Hashtag all butts matter.
Yeah, appreciate them all.
That is funny. Yeah.
I know some women friends of mine, I think they're more obsessed with men's butts than we are with theirs.
Yeah.
I shouldn't say obsessed, but maybe, you know, talk about them more. I don't know.
Interested.
Of course, we're so used to it. We're numb to it. We definitely pay attention and point them out. Look at that, you know.
Well, see, it goes both ways with men too. I don't think it goes both ways with women. With men, we will point out the little butt and the butt that shouldn't be in spandex. You know, we'll point them both out. Not for the same reasons, but we're definitely, for both reasons, we will nudge our buddy and go, check that out.
See, if I had to pick like somebody right off the bat, I don't even have a problem doing that. Like my holy cow kind of a deal is Kate Beckinsale, hands down. Hands down, done. That's my get out of jail free card kind of a thing.
I'm not really sure who that is off the top of my head.
Or not either.
Underworld.
Oh, okay. Yep. I know.
Yep. Yep, that's my get out of jail card. But I don't know. But it also varies too. You know, I mean, Fast Times at Ridgemount High. You guys remember that?
Yeah.
Girl on the
Phoebe?
swimming pool.
Yeah, Phoebe. I'm down like 4 flats in the hood on that one.
How old is she?
How old is she now? I don't care. No, I don't know. She's probably in her mid to early 40s by now.
That's like saying how old is Lita Ford now? It doesn't matter.
Yeah, I don't care. But yeah, I don't know. But and it's really quick to assume that it's all brunettes, and a vast majority of them are. But like I don't know what it is. I've seen that Ellie Goulding or whatever, and sometimes I'm like, but sometimes I'm like, hey. So I don't know. It
I don't know
varies.
who that is.
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know who that is at all.
All right, guys, I'm going to be very PC here because Julie is sitting right beside me and knows 101 ways to kill me in my sleep. I'm just going to give you the advice my dad gave me when I was younger, and that was, son, it does not matter where you get your appetite as long as you always eat at home.
Nice. Oh, fucking Misfit out there. He's chiming in. Joan Jett.
Yeah, Joan Jett's hot. That's who came to mind when you said Lita Ford. I'm like, yeah, it doesn't matter.
Chris DIYer said, remember the 80s video, She's My Cherry Pie? That was Bobby Brown. And no, not the black guy.
Was that a hairband song? Is that
Yeah, that was Warrant.
Warrant? Yeah.
Yeah, that was one
Oh, that
with the hairband.
okay. Yeah, that's what I was. Okay. Yep.
Song voted most likely to be played in any strip club ever.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
Linda Ronstadt. Yep.
Stevie Nicks. I was going to say Stevie Nicks earlier, too. That's kind of like saying it doesn't matter how old Stevie Nicks is. Or Nancy Hart. Nancy Wilson.
Yeah, Nancy Wilson. Yeah. Yeah, she was hot.
Now we're all really showing our age.
And as we get older, hell, they just got to be breathing.
Even if they're not breathing, it's also they're not cold yet.
Yeah, as long as they're still
you
warm.
got like a 5-10 minute window there.
Dead lay is okay. A cold one that's the line. That's.
Yeah.
But if they're not cold, does that still count for your black wings?
That's a good point. That's a good point.
Yeah, it's Tawny Katane from the 80s.
I mean, you're debating nomenclature at this point, but it's a technicality. I guess it swings on the judge.
Oh, what was her name? What was the girl from Weird Science?
Oh shit! Yeah, she was hot as hell.
She's a model.
Yeah.
See, I wasn't too hip to that. I really wasn't. I don't know why.
She was in one of Steven Seagal's movie too, Hard to Kill.
Yeah.
Is that it?
Yeah.
David, I can tell you why you weren't that hip to it, because you were probably about 8 when that movie came out.
No, I mean, no, because I remember looking at Charlie's Angels and going, "Holy cow!" And I can't even remember her name, but man, I was down with that.
Farrah Fawcett.
No, let me look that up.
Oh, I don't know the other ones. Farrah Fawcett was like the famous one, the blonde. Or you might be talking about the second ones, or Demi Moore and.
No.
Mentioned Bo Derek. I mean, yeah. Now there's old and crusty. That's getting a little too old now.
70.
Yeah, Matt, no, not even Cheryl Teagues. That'll date us too damn much too.
Yeah. Kelly Brock, there you go.
There
Dusty Blue Tuiffy says, yep, Kelly Brock was her name.
Love Rock, wasn't it?
It might have been LeBrock, but yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, she was hot.
And then somebody said, it was Misfit. Where'd it go? Shit. Angelina Jolie from the movie Hackers.
She's just pretty anyway.
Yeah, that was pre-boob job, right?
That was pre-boob job, pre-weirdness, you know, pre-Billy Bob Thornton.
I hate Billy Bob Thornton.
I don't know. I've never been a big fan of Angelina Jolie. Those lips just turn me off. They look like butt lips.
I wouldn't kick her out of bed. No.
Yeah, but isn't that the same with the girl from Weird Science?
A little bit.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that was kind of the thing. I mean, it just her features were like over the top.
Ooh, there's a big fan base for Mary Ann from Gilligan's Island out there.
Oh yeah,
No, I was more of a ginger man.
not gender. I think it was later on in life, looking back on it, when I was more Marianne. It's like, oh yeah, that little shy girl. I bet she was a freak in the sheets.
Right? Right? How about Jessica Rabbit? Come on.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, I'd take Jessica any day.
God, what was her name?
That Roger Rabbit was one lucky son of a bitch.
Elvira, Misfits, Elvira.
Just saying that.
Holy shit.
Oh, come on, Misfit. Elvira was 65 when I was 19.
You guys, I haven't had cable in a while, but there used to be that car show called Counting Cars. Has anybody seen that?
Yeah.
He built a car for Elvira. This was just a couple years ago, and she was in it. She looks better today than she did back when she was doing her Elvira thing.
Nice. Jessica Alba.
Okay, guys, I just got to put this out here. If you do not see me on YouTube within like 2 weeks, that means Julia has killed me over this conversation.
You can always blame us.
Yeah, that was totally TR.
Yeah, I definitely derailed this conversation.
Southern Style 357 says he likes Mr. Howell.
357 would. He really would.
Mrs. Howe. Oh, okay, from Gilligan Island. Yeah, okay.
Oh, I said Mr. Howell. Just messing with you.
What about the girl from Get Smart?
Get Smart.
The new one, or
The original one.
no? I don't
Or
know.
what about Tabitha from Bewitched? She was cute.
No, she was cute, but she's a blonde. I just don't trust blondes. They've caused me too many problems over the years.
There's a lot of truth to that.
I pretty much just don't trust females, period. So.
Bam!
Nah, I'm just kidding.
There's Misfit, tattooed chick from American Pickers, whatever her name is. She's a roller derby girl.
If TR said he's just kidding, he's just serious.
Although the new Get Smart was that Anne Hathaway. She's pretty. A lot of people don't think she is, but she's pretty.
I agree with Chris Dyer out there. Sally Field and Smokey and the Bandit. In those days.
Oh, hell yes.
Gimp Geeks swinging for home here. Jennifer Aniston.
No, Gimp's going for the trifecta: Jennifer Aniston, Jennifer Connelly, and Jessica Alba.
About Jennifer Love Hewitt.
I don't know what any of this.
There you go.
Yeah, I can't argue with that one,
Call
David. I
me.
can't argue with that at all.
Liv Tyler's pretty.
Liv Tyler's pretty in a way, in the same way that Steven Tyler's pretty, though.
But see, that's my problem with Angelina Jolie. Let's just be honest. Since since you're doing that whole association, I'm sorry, but I cannot look at Angelina without seeing John. I cannot do it. I look at her face and I'm like, John Voight's a pretty good-looking dude.
I've never noticed like John Voight features.
Oh my God, put them together. Well, actually don't, because once you do that, you'll never unsee it.
Oh.
All of a sudden you look at John Voight's movies and you're like, yeah.
All right, Stewart Design 101 brought up a good candidate. I don't remember the actress's name, but Daisy Duke off of the Dukes of Hazzard.
Off the newer one?
No, off
the
the
older
old
one,
one, the
yeah.
original.
She was pretty. She was hot.
I know Jessica Simpson was the newer one.
Yeah, she did a good job in that one. But yeah, the original too.
I could TR, yeah, she did a good job in that one.
I grew up with that. That was 70s, late 70s.
Yeah, I was like 12 years old when that show came out, and that's the only reason I tuned in was to see Daisy in those short shorts.
She has not aged well, the original Daisy Duke.
Oh yeah.
But Wonder Woman did. Whatever her name is. Shit.
Carter.
Linda Carter.
Yeah, Linda Carter. Because she was in the newer Dukes of Hazzard. She was kind of like Uncle... Shit. Whatever his name is. The uncle. Almost kind of girlfriend kind of thing. Whatever.
Right.
All right, Julia just commented, notice how they're not talking about jack-off people except girls. Chime in on what we want, guys. Okay, women, chime in out there on the guys you think that are sexy.
Well, the guys are easy. Girls like the dirty-looking dudes, like Brad Pitt. Brad Pitt, he always looks dirty. He always looks like he needs a shower. I don't get it.
Well,
but chicks dig him. And Channing Tatum. I mean, and I don't know if I'm saying that right, but whatever. Ryan Gosling and all these other dudes. I mean, it's so weird because I wouldn't. And by the way, let me just go ahead and throw this out here. I don't associate a lot of those guys with men. I mean, yeah, they're dudes, but they're not. Men for some reason aren't attractive anymore, and I don't understand that.
Well, like, there's a lot of women that think George Clooney is a fucking god.
Or no, gosh dang it. And me of all people, how can I forget it? Bond.
Sean Connery.
Connery, yeah.
With the gray beard and the dark mustache.
Now that's a dude. That's a man. You know, and it makes me feel better when women are like, "Oh yeah, he's distinguished. I like him. He's a man." Like, that's what I'm talking about. Well done, girl.
I see what you did there, Matt.
What's that?
Said, I see what you did there.
Yeah. And Space Bun said she used to like Chris Christopherson.
And Matt Dillon.
And Matt Dillon?
Yeah. For years.
Julia's favorite by far is going to be Brett Favre. She has this huge picture of him in a frame. And when we first met, that's one of the first things she moved in. And I told her, you can put that picture anywhere in the house that you want with the bedroom because I'm not competing with that shit.
Okay.
Yeah, I like to see women attracted to manly men. You know, I mean, somebody that I respect. Like you said, like a Sean Connery or, I don't know, like I'm a Clint Eastwood fan. He just seems like a manly man. I mean, it may be just a movie thing, whatever, acting. I don't give a shit. He just, you know, kick ass, kind of, you know, take care of business, you know.
That's one. Sam Elliott. I've heard a lot of women talk about Sam Elliott before too.
Sam Elliott, Clint Eastwood. We could even go as far as who was the good version of Clint Eastwood? Who am I thinking of? The Duke.
John
Wayne.
Wayne, yeah. You know, when girls are hip to guys like that, I'm like, all right. There's still hope for.
Yeah. Women love Sam Elliott until they actually see him in real life. He's actually shorter than Tom Cruise in real life. They fall in
Really?
love with the voice.
Now,
How could such a booming voice come out of such a small dude?
Misfit brings up a good point, and I have to give this to him. Brad Pitt is one of the few, at least really big name, pro-gun celebrities.
Well, yeah, I'm not talking about his politics. I'm just saying he looks dirty. Like maybe he's been shooting all day and decided not to shower while these girls are like, oh my god. But in you know what, that actually does make sense now that I think about it. And this is really weird, and women, I will never understand this about you. I love you for it, but I'll never understand it. The times that I have been found to be most attractive by those that I'm with are when I am literally just dirty as hell after working all day, or I'm sweating, or whatever the situation is. That seems to be like when I'm the most attractive to them. When I'm dolled up and I'm, dressed up and clean and all this other stuff, they're like, whatever.
You mean when it's not when you're talking about Russia? That's not when the girls get all like wet for you and shit.
Yeah, no, that doesn't work out well for me for some reason.
Like you go to the table, you meet up for the first time, you give her her drink, you're drinking your smoothie or whatever it is.
It's pink beer.
What did this turn into, a roast session? Holy cow!
Something with a leaf hanging out of it, I don't know, but
A piece of celery.
Yeah, a piece of celery. What is that? It's all fruit. Don't worry about it. And you start talking about, gold's down this much, but Russia, they're doing this, that, and the other thing, and she just kind of goes,
oh, I love this man. Tell me more about the fall of the United States.
Maybe later we can go drive in my eco-friendly Volvo.
Oh my God! No, see, I can't go that far. I mean, I'll talk about everything collapsing, but I'm leaving my footprint.
The single worst thing that happened to the dating scene for men is when lewds went away.
Yeah, I doubt talking politics gets them wet.
No, I'll tell you what, the vast majority of the things that I am extremely interested in, it doesn't surprise me that I'm single. Because I mean, I like bikes, I like politics, history, health. I don't have a lot going for me. I like to read, but real stuff, not fantasy.
Yeah, so like when you're sitting at that dating table with your fruity drink with the leaf hanging out of it, talking about Russia, you hand her your book and say,
she's like, do you like to read? I'm like, I sure do. Punk.
Yeah.
I'm a rock too, baby.
Yeah, that doesn't go over well. The only thing is all the stuff that I did in my past, like, oh, you were in a band? Yeah. Well, that's exciting. Yeah, I guess. I don't remember all that time, but it was an alcoholic haze.
Well, it's always, you were in a band? Yep. And there was this girl and that girl and this girl and that girl behind the dumpster behind the bar.
When I was dating, I always told them that I was in a band. I just didn't mention that it was the high school marching band.
Well, no, that's what's funny about it, because there's one song. Well, I guess there were a couple songs that did okay. We were at one point one of the only bands in I think we were the only band in North America sponsored by Red Bull at one point, and it was just crazy chaos is what it was. And we had one song that did really, I would say, decent. And in fact, my bass player ended up, he was the bass player for Seasons After. Anyway, the song that we did is literally about all the stuff that we talk about every week. So even that song, you can't escape it. It's like, geez, perpetual boredom for not for all women, not to, but let's be honest here. I would guesstimate 80% of the female population isn't interested in the vast majority of the things that I like to discuss.
Speaking of guys who like who like girls, you heard Jared Fogle got 15.5 years.
Yeah. Guys that like girls. Was it a girl? That's at least not as bad as I thought it was.
Well, I think, well, at least I think that's what he said.
See, now, I heard all that, but I really didn't even dig into it.
It's actually apparently not as bad as it sounds, and I say that very loosely because they were like 16, 17 years old.
Okay.
Not little,
8, 9.
not little tiny children.
Like 3.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You got to be careful saying it's not as bad as it sounds when you say that, though, because
No, but see, you know, it's even in the United States today with parental consent, 16's okay. In some states. So 6 of one, half a dozen of the other. It depends on whatever state you happen to be in when you decide to do something like that. In fact, in some states, Romeo and Juliet laws don't even apply, from what I understand. So you could be high school sweethearts and then turn 18 and somebody decides to be a jerk and turn you in because you've been dating this person for 4 years, and because you're suddenly 18 and she's going to be 18 in like a month, you're still going to get put in through sex offender lists and all this other stuff. So it's frustrating, whatever.
I hear you, David, unless you're in a fucked up state like Georgia where the age of consent is 12.
Well, yeah, I mean, and that's another weird thing, too. I mean, you look back at, I mean, it wasn't even, 70, 80 years ago? The life expectancy wasn't near what it is now. And women always live longer than men, and if you look at it, historically speaking, women would marry early, and they would have 2 marriages in their life at some point, or 2 loves of their life. They would have their family and all this other stuff, and then again. I don't know. I think some of the rules and laws and all this other stuff, they don't account for what possibly could be. If you're 12, age of consent, you know, if your boyfriend's 13. I mean, because let's be honest here, I was much younger than 12 when I first started to experiment. You know, so God forbid that, you know, I was experimenting at 13 with a girl who was 12 in my same class just because I started late or she started late or I was early or whatever the situation is. It seems asinine because those laws don't take into account those things. A lot of them don't anyway. I know some states do, but whatever.
David, experimenting with the babysitter doesn't count.
Right? No, dude. All right, so here you go. Then that's
Matt, it absolutely does count.
It's score. I remember being in like kindergarten, and my parents went to on vacation or something. They left these 2 girls in charge, babysitting us or whatever. And man, this one gal, holy cow, she had my attention. And so one day, she gets out of the shower and she's wearing the robe. She's got her hair in the towel and all this other stuff. She comes out and she's fixing breakfast and all this other stuff. And I'm just like I said, I was in like, I think it was in the, I would only even know if I was in kindergarten at this point. All I remember is she had big boobs and she was pretty and she was older and, you know, I was compelled. I didn't have that filter, so I tried to reach and she would slap my hand away. She'd be like, don't. But still allowed me to sit on her lap, so I was like, obviously, I'm pushing me away too hard here. Try number 2. Kept trying, tried to kiss her. I mean, just it was dumb, but I was kid.
So you had that Mrs. Johnson syndrome there, David, right?
Oh, and yeah, absolutely. I was really sad when she left. It's like, babysit us again. Yeah, I don't know. Weird. I don't know why I decided to share that, but there you go. There's a little insight into my childhood. I've been a hornball since I was this big. Hey, call it a day.
Well, it's that whole, you know, mentality about a little boy doesn't feel traumatized by that, but a little girl would.
Yeah. I don't know. It's a double standard in a lot of ways. I mean, I think it's, and that's not true either. I mean, you know, the first time that I had any kind of quote sexual encounter, to any degree. I was actually getting pressured by a girl who was younger than me, and I probably was in, I might have been in first grade by then. You know, so I don't know. Guess maybe it's different times.
It must be, David, because you're younger than me. My first sexual experience, I was like 12.
I started saying, where did you grow up? Orgy
Arizona.
convention kind of.
No, I mean, well, but see, all right. So let me clarify. When I'm talking about sexual encounter, I'm talking about experimentation. You know, just experimenting and exploring. You know, the body for what it is, not actual intercourse or anything like that. It wasn't like I knew what I was doing, and it's not like she knew what she was doing. It was just, you know, experimentation.
Okay,
Like,
I
hey,
get
I'm
you.
different than you.
Yeah, show me
And
yours, I'll show you mine, kind of thing.
yeah,
And
Let's play
okay, I
doctor.
got
Yeah.
you.
yeah.
Yeah,
So I mean, it
yeah,
was.
yeah.
Let me clarify. My first sexual experience was when I was 12, and it was with myself. Now, it wasn't long after that at 14, and yeah, my first sexual experience was with a babysitter that was 16.
Right on. 4.
See, and that's the difference there. We say, "Fucking all right, man." You know, if it was the other way around, you know, a girl and a male babysitter, it would be as socially unacceptable as anything else.
Yeah, now jail time comes in play.
Yeah. That's, I don't know. That's I got to be honest with you. That's one thing that I don't like about this the whole women's lib movement, because it's confusing. You know, you want equality. You want to fight with men. You want to do everything that men do, but then when it comes to certain things, it's just not acceptable. I don't get that. You look, there are certain things that we are predisposed to do and not do. Women will give birth. Men and women will never be equal as long as that is the case. Women will always be able to give birth. Men will never be able, naturally, be able to give birth. Um, there are things that, generally speaking, men are supposed to be doing, and women, that the same thing with them, that they're supposed to be doing. It's not a gender role. It's well, unless you wanted to tear it apart and once again debate nomenclature, then perhaps. But it's simplicity. You know, you're not going to find a man breastfeeding a woman, but men and women should not frown upon a woman breastfeeding a child. But that doesn't. That's not an equality issue. That's a birth right issue kind of a thing. I mean, I don't know. Our society's so jacked up.
There's just certain things, even physically. There's certain things physically that women aren't, on average, aren't as capable of doing as men, and there's certain things that men aren't as good at doing that women are. It's just the way bodies are built. You know, it's, for instance, on average, women are better welders than men, but on average, they're not strong enough to do the work a lot of the time because steel is heavy. You know, that's just how it works out. I was assigning the other weekend. I was assigning non-combat and combat designations to certain people in training. People who want to be in a combat role and people who don't. And I told one of the girls, you're in a non-combat role. And she's like, why? I said, can you drag me across the field? If I was down, could you grab a hold of the drag handle on my plate carrier and drag me off the field? She's like, no.
She said she could drag parts of you.
Yeah, she said she could drag parts of me if I was blew up. But I said, no, that's why.
Well, yeah, women have lesser upper body strength than men. That's just a physical fact. It's never going to change. It's just a physical fact.
And that's not to say that women can't, fight or whatever. Obviously, some women can annihilate a dude if they wanted to. In fact, females with brown eyes are actually genetically predisposed to be a better shot with a rifle than a lot of men. Period. It has, and I don't know all of the details that go into that, but I mean, I can assume on a couple of things as to why that would be. And there you go. My ex-wife, she had never fired a firearm before, and literally just handing it, once she figured it out, bam! I mean, it was a crack shot. And she's got brown eyes, and I think that kind of solidified that in a lot of ways. So it's, once again, it's not about all this other crap, but I think we complicate it into stupid things. And let's look at it this way: as a society, as a gender situation, why do we set up our laws to protect females and not males? Because generally speaking, the authority is male, and I've written about that, about how there's certain factors in regard to physiology that lends well to male leaders versus female leaders. But there are a hell of a lot more female mid-management leaders than there are males. In fact, the workforce is predominantly, in regard to leadership, primarily female, and it's not for lack of want that they don't become the higher end leaders. It's themselves, and that's a studied and peer-reviewed fact. But anyway, it's not for lack of want. It's just what their comfort level is. It's the same thing. But males generally want to protect their daughters and their mothers and their sisters and everything else. Males, historically speaking, have been the protectors. In 10 minutes, we're not going to change this.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying, David. I mean, I'm always wanting, Julie will come to me to talk about something that's upset her, and what she wants is just for me to listen to it. What I want is to fix the problem, and that pisses her off because I immediately start going into, this is how you fix the problem, instead of just shutting up and letting her vent. And what you said about the brown eyes, Julia has hazel eyes. She shoots better than me every day. I mean, her groups are a lot smaller than mine. I have green eyes. She has hazel eyes, and she just sees the target better.
Well, here's the thing: is you talk about the women's lib, and them standing up for their rights and all that. They stood up for their rights. They stood up for what they wanted to be equal to men. But the second I took their chair after they stood up, they started bitching.
Well, that's the weird end of the deal there. I don't know, it's kind of frustrating, but but on the same token too, and this is the irony of the situation, is that men often get involved. It's kind of like you said, wanting to fix things. Guys want to fix things. That's what we're programmed to do, and we'll try to fix it, even if we have no place in the world of being there. And there's so many things in regard to the female world that guys are involved in, and we shouldn't be, but because we want to fix everything, we are, and I'm guilty of it too. But on the same, I mean, the same is true for the other side as well. And why we can't just embrace who we are, embrace our gender. I mean, it's not like we can change it. Aside from guys like Jenner, we can't truly change who we are, but we're also not supposed to embrace it? Who the hell came up with this rule? So dumb. So dumb.
I think there's some confusion of what I said about. First, I didn't make a generalized comment about women in combat. I think if a woman can do the same thing I can do, there's absolutely no issues, none at all, in my opinion. It's the problem stems where it's, I can do that, but no, you actually can't, because you're not physically capable of doing it, you're not tall enough, you're not strong enough, whatever the case may be, and now you're putting me, yourself, and everybody else in harm's way because of the shortcomings. That's pretty much my stance.
And there are, and that's the thing. It's about standards. If you set a standard, and this is how it should be, period, regardless of what the situation is. I don't care if it's academics, combat, whatever, mechanics, welding, swimming, dance, doesn't matter. If you set a standard, and this is the standard for what we are going to do, period, this level of performance, if you're male or female and you can do it, then awesome. If you can't, at least you try. And, let's be honest. Like, for instance, Ranger School. There are going to be women who would be able to do that. It's not going to be all of them. But guess what? There are thousands upon thousands of men who also can't do it. Nobody's reducing the standards to make sure that they can get through. Nobody should have to reduce a standard for a certain standard of soldier or whatever the situation is. I'm not going to sit there and try to, like welding. Well, you can't lift it. Anybody who cannot lift this thing to achieve certain tasks obviously can't do it. I don't care if you're male or female. Best person for the job. If you meet the standard, then you get it. We get so wrapped up in stupid, idiotic things sometimes, it's beyond me.
Yeah, I know when I was in boot camp, they train women there as well, and even back then I thought that was like, it was bullshit. Not being whatever, but just saying, the physical standards that had to be met were different, and theirs were a lot lower than ours. And it's like, we're going out for the same fucking jobs. If I got to do this, don't they have to do this too? I never did get that. I understood it, but it's bullshit.
I think what we're all trying to say is really the same thing. Women should just be making sandwiches and babies.
Of course, I will say this. They were starting to let women on ships and stuff, and maybe they was just making exceptions. I don't know. It's like, well, they need a social life too. Talking about the men.
Well, it's kind of like, all right, you look at like lions, for instance. Females tend to do the vast majority of the hunting. I find that to be an interesting paradigm. In different predator sex, there's really interesting things that females do and males don't do, even in the animal kingdom. And I think we're the only one that tries to go against our own physiology sometimes to a fault. There's nothing wrong with feminism or masculinity, but we're feminizing our males, and we're masculine or making our females more masculine. It's a weird world we live in.
Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah, I think that is a big problem. I don't have a problem with a woman being her own woman and being strong and all that. Hell, I like that, but I agree with you. We're wussifying the men and making the women want to be men. It's upside down fucking world.
Yeah.
Well, and political correctness has a lot to do with it. Not so much the masculine or over masculinating or whatever the freaking word would be of women, but making men pussies is pretty much more up that alley. The PC bullshit, got to watch your mouth around everybody. I mean, just nobody gets smacked in the head anymore. It just, really, when was the last time you looked at somebody that really deserved getting punched in the mouth, and the thought didn't cross through your head that this little bitch is gonna end up calling the cops on me instead of fighting me like he should?
Right.
That's the way men used to take care of business. Is you said something stupid, you did something stupid, you got smacked for it. You got your eye dotted, and if you thought you were in the right, you punched him back. Even if you didn't think you were in the right, you still punched him back.
Yeah, I had that shit happen to me a few years ago. Little bitch fucking called the law, tried to have me locked up. Yeah. It's like, I mean, it was done. It was over with. I left. You're still standing. It's not like I put you in a fucking hospital. The fuck?
Yeah, whatever happened to the day where if you let your mouth write a check that your ass couldn't cover, you got put in your place and that was the end of it?
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, but that goes with wussifying our children, you know. I mean, I'm going to go tell on you because I can't handle my own problems.
Turn in your parents.
And, you know, when you talk about children, one of the problems with children these days is why, and I don't care what anybody says, children are more out of control today than they were when we were younger. And it stems a lot from you can't spank your kid anymore. And I'm not saying you can't, like it's illegal, but the day that children started being able to sue their parents because they spanked them was that the start of that downhill slope.
I agree. Hell, they were still paddling when I graduated high school. You
Yep.
could get your ass paddled with a wooden paddle and all that, you know. And it wasn't. A few years later, they started phasing that out, and yeah, it's been going on a long time. And now you got generations that grew up without that discipline,
Look at our kids.
and so the parents that didn't have discipline are now raising kids. They didn't have discipline, so it's just being amplified and passed on. Yeah, it's a recipe for disaster that we are reaping the benefits from now, if you want to say it benefits, but reaping the end result of it.
Oh, hell yeah, TR. When I was in high school, if I got my ass whooped at school, I could guarantee I was going to get my ass whooped when I came home. That was a big deterrent. Now, my father was not abusive, but he did not have a problem taking a belt to me if I fucked up. And he beat me out of fucking prison and out of doing something that's going to get me killed. He was a good parent. He never abused me. The belt was always below the waist, and that kind of fell by the wayside. But at the same time, it depends on the kid. I was a stubborn kid. I would not mind unless there was some, physical thing that's going to happen if I get out of line. Just talking to me would not work with me. With our kids, the worst thing I could tell them is I'm disappointed in you, and they turned out just fine. But a lot of kids aren't like that. You got a lot of kids like me that are headstrong. They're not going to pay attention to anything unless there's a corporal punishment coming along with it. A physical consequence to what you're doing.
My dad said, of course, it's a little bit different, in every household, and I get that. We weren't allowed to start fights. If we started a fight, we had to fight him. But the funny thing is if and this is how it was told to us, you better not start a fight, but if you get in a fight, you better finish it. And I've been on the receiving end of that too, because if you weren't able to finish a fight, then you needed to get toughened up. But it worked out in the end. I'm still here,
But David, spanking is bad.
ooh, then I was probably a victim of child abuse. Because, it's funny though. I had a brother. I'll tell you a story about my brother. He is the black sheep, and he spent a lot of time behind bars as a result. But one of my brothers anyway, he it's funny when and see in our house it was if you said something you meant it. Make your words mean something. And my dad had I think probably made a false threat, but kind of if you go out and it was something about throwing rocks. If you throw rocks, I will custom fit a 2x4 to your ass. Trying to say it, probably trying to be clever, trying to scare him. But Jason was like, all right, I'd like to see that. So he goes out and he's throwing rocks, gets caught, And sure enough, he gets put into his room. My dad, who worked in, he built houses and stuff like that, and he did. He went out to his shop and made what looked like a cricket bat. And I'm by my brother's room. I'm like, don't kill him, don't kill him. Comes in with his big old cricket bat. I mean, it was crazy. And Jason's eyes lit up like, oh my God. Door shuts. And you hear this. I mean, you could hear the wind on this thing. Whap, whap, whap. Ah! You know. And I'm like screaming into the corner of the door, don't kill my brother, don't do it. And he's like, shut up. He's yelling at me to shut up while he's whooping my brother. And I'm just bawling outside. I'm like, my dad's killing him, you know. And he comes out, and, you know, he's sweaty or whatever, and takes off. My brother comes out, and he's like, looks at me. He's like, didn't hurt. I'm like, my ass. I heard you screaming. Crazy.
Funniest one I can tell on my dad is I had a bunch of friends over to spend the night, and we were, I don't know, about 13, 14 years old. We're up in my room playing music too loud, raising hell. Dad comes up there like 3 times and tells us to calm down, keep the noise down. And the last time I opened up the door to my bedroom and told my dad, stay away from us, old man. We'll do what we want to. And he comes in and takes the belt off, and I'm in front of him, all of my friends are behind me, and he's taking that belt and whipping it this way and that way, wearing my ass out. And I'm laughing my ass off because every time he comes this way or this way, all 3 of my friends were getting hit in the face. I'm getting hit in the ass. And I'm laughing my ass off because they're getting it worse than I am. That just makes Dad madder. I thought he was going to have a heart attack. He whooped my ass until he literally fell on the couch, gasping for breath, and I'm still laughing my ass off because my friends got hit more than I did.
My grandpa used to tell me this story. When he was in school, they used to take rubber bands and paper clips and, you know, shoot the paper clips at each other. And he had gone out that weekend. He had saved up money, and he had gone out that weekend and bought a brand new box of paper clips. They went to school on Monday, and in first period, and right at the beginning of school, the teacher said, all right, everybody, empty your pockets. Everybody, you're going to get a paddle for every paper clip you have. And he got out this box of paper clips, and she took them out to the hallway and said, I can't do that to you. You know, it's just, you know, what's 100 or something in a freaking box? You know, she's like, I can't do that to you. I think she gave him like 10, but yeah, he said when apparently the school had enough of it, and it just so happens to be on the day he had a brand new box of paper clips. And as soon as she said that, he has his hand in his pocket, grabbing onto that box for dear life, like, oh my God, no.
Whoops.
Now, I'll say this. I've never had to raise a hand to any of my kids. I've got 7 kids. The closest I ever came was my oldest son, and he bowed up on me when he was 16. Drew his hand back like he was going to hit me, you know, and we're arguing on the front porch in our neighborhood. And I looked at him and I said, if you throw that punch, you just stepped out of a kid's shoes and into a man's shoes, you're going to get a man's punishment. And he said, if you hit me, I'll call the cops. And I said, well, you better be able to dial fast, and you better be able to call the cops and the ambulance at the same time, because the average response time for the cops here is 20 minutes. And he put his hand down and went into his room.
All right, guys, it's a good conversation. I hate to end this, but unless somebody's got something they want to say right quick, I mean, I'll let y'all do an outro, don't get me wrong. I got to go to work tomorrow. Probably Matt, I don't know what y'all's guys' schedule are, but I need to go ahead and end this. It's been about 2 hours and 15 minutes or so since I started. Great chat. Enjoyed it. Had a good time. We got a little bit funny and goofy there a little bit, which is good. I always enjoy that. So David, would you like to do a outro?
Sure. David Robertson from An American Warning. Thanks for having me on. Again, reminder, website's been updated. I encourage everybody to go ahead and click around and check it out. If you find a problem with the site, let me know, because like I said, the whole thing's been revamped, so we're still trying to work out any bugs. If you find them, hit the contact page, let me know where you found it so I can get it fixed. New website up, reasonedleadership.com. Be sure to check that out if you want the leadership stuff. And of course, the book, and Reloaded, An American Warning. You proud of me, Matt? First time I've plugged it in a while.
You got it. All you got to do is like get yours now. American Warning Reloaded. Find it at Amazon.com.
And use it for your couch. But no, and once again, thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.
Thanks for being on. I appreciate it. Greg, you want to say anything?
I just thought it was an awesome chat tonight. We got kind of off topic every once in a while, but it was still fun. I think everybody in the side chat enjoyed most of it. David, yeah, you got to plug that book more, man. If you want to get sales, you got to plug that book, man. And same with you, Matt. Plug your site. I'm glad to see you're back on YouTube and making videos again, bro.
Yep, absolutely. Matt, you want to say anything?
I suppose. If you're going to make me. Like I said, I promised the big man shirts tomorrow, so those will be out, the Black Guns Matter shirts. Hopefully have a new article coming out soon if I can't seem to get on my website or whatever. I'm having trouble logging into my website as an administrator. I got the guy who runs the server. I got him working on it right now, or today. So he said it should be up tomorrow. But if that doesn't work, I'm going to submit it to An American Warning, submit it to David, see if I can get it published on that blog. Other than that, yeah, check out Resist Tyranny, Guns, Gear, and Politics here on YouTube. And thanks for having me on.
Always a pleasure. And for anybody who don't know, I did put a link down in the description box for Matt's T-shirts. He has his own website and stuff too, but I just put the link for the T-shirts in there. If you want some a T-shirt, really good prices and stuff. I need to work on doing a set, putting all you guys in there, links to your sites and all that, so I can just copy and paste it every time. I hadn't got around to doing that yet. Sorry. But with that, I want to thank everybody for coming out. I want to thank the panel especially. Great chat. Enjoyed it. It was a fun chat. Covered a lot of stuff, and serious stuff and funny stuff, goofy stuff. But it was awesome. I enjoyed it. So we'll see y'all next time. Well, I'm always here on 9:30s Sunday night. And if you'd like to check out the chat I have on Tuesday nights, it'll be at 9:30 also. David has a podcast on Tuesdays and Thursdays at 8 o'clock, I think. Am I right, David?
Yeah, I guess it depends on where you're at. It's usually somewhere between 7 and 8 Central Standard Time.
Okay, so it might be, okay. All right, but there you go. So check out his podcast if you want to see that, and then he does a little hanging with Dave every once in a while. And Matt will do a chat every blue moon. I think next Saturday he'll probably have another conflicted series chat. I think it will be next week if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, it's every other week, and it wasn't this Saturday, so it will be next Saturday at 9:30 Eastern. Yeah, at 9:30 Eastern.
Okay.
Yeah, thanks for plugging that, TR, because we all enjoy those conflicted card deck chats.
Yeah. If you need to do it a little bit earlier, you can, Matt, because I'll be off. So if you want to do it at 9 Eastern, that'd be fine too.
How about keep it the same?
Okay.
No sense in changing the times up. How far into the deck are we? You are separating them out as we ask, right?
Yeah, I mean, really, there's a lot of cards I've seen in these, and I just throw them to the side because I don't think they're actually worth. I mean, they're so blatant, or they're similar to another card. I mean, we've gone through a lot of the main ones I thought were really good questions. So, I mean, it's not like we have to read every card because some of them are just, I won't say stupid or ridiculous or whatever, but it's just, you know, you know what I'm saying. They're
Would
just
you
like,
eat grass or would you not eat grass?
yeah, shit like that, you know. So that's why sometimes when we're doing that, you see me kind of going through and I'm like, we don't need to talk about that one. We don't need to talk about that one. It's not that it ain't a question. It's just like, you know. But so yeah, we've gone through most of the good cards, and I hadn't seen every card. Don't get me wrong, but yeah, there's definitely a lot of cards we've not probably won't cover. So it may not take that much longer to really go through all of them. But anyway, with that, everybody, I appreciate it, and we'll see you on somebody's chat again sometime soon. Later, everybody.